Hey guys, it's Brian. We're back in the garage with the Frostbite JL, and today we're going to be working on my exhaust. More specifically, I do have an exhaust leak, and we're also going to cut some exhaust and gain some clearance. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. Like I said, we are going to be cutting up some of the exhaust, and we're also going to be fixing an exhaust leak. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first part of this. So this is going to be Magnaflow's JL and JT exhaust loop delete. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to cut our exhaust loop from the factory, and we're going to replace it with this. That'll also gain us quite a bit of ground clearance. It'll also leave room for a long arm suspension in the future. So I did go ahead and hit my exhaust on one of my trips. I do now have an exhaust leak, so we do need to fix that. Let's go over those parts. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we need to fix our exhaust leak. So I crawled up under the Jeep. Our Cadillac converters actually weren't damaged when I hit it off-road, which is good. Sometimes that can happen. That's one of the other reasons why we're going to do the exhaust loop delete, to gain that clearance so we're not hitting it as much. Okay, and along with doing the exhaust loop today, we're going to go ahead and try to fix our exhaust leak. What we're going to do is put new gaskets on our catalytic converters. So these are the Mopar part numbers here for you. I'll link links down below for these. Well, basically these are just the gaskets that go between the exhaust manifold and your catalytic converter. So we're going to replace those. That's a common spot for these to leak. I did also go ahead and pick up the little plate that the catalytic converter sits into. It basically notches into this plate and then has two 10mm bolts at the top. That's why sometimes if you bump it, you'll mess up these gaskets and you'll want to replace them. So we're going to go ahead and replace these today. One of the things with replacing these, to get access to the catalytic converters, we do need to remove the fenders. So what I did is I went ahead and picked up some Mopar replacement fender clips. This is the part numbers there for you. This is what they look like. These do tend to break when you rip your fenders off to gain access to that inner fender well. So something to note, you also want to pick up some good metal blades. We are going to be cutting the driver's side catalytic converter to go ahead and install this exhaust loop. It's pretty easy install, guys. Let's go ahead and we'll show you how it's done. Okay, so what we're going to do is start on this passenger side fender. What we do need to do is remove it so we can gain access to the inner fender well to get at that catalytic converter. So what we do need to remove is 4 10mm bolts. We've got one here, 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 and then one here as well. Right, there's one more screw you need to go ahead and remove. It's this one up in here. So that's a total of 5 screws that need to come out. And then what we'll do is we'll grab the fender and we can rip it off, and that'll pop those clips out of the sheet metal there for you. So let's go ahead and we'll do that real quick and we'll gain access to the inside there. Okay, and once you rip that off, as you can tell, some of the little plastic tabs broke and some of them were retained, so we'll try to save some of those if we can. You want to go ahead and we're going to unclip our fender light with that little red tab, and then it'll just pull right out. That way we can pull this whole fender and inner fender liner out and get access to that catalytic converter. Alright, here we go. So now that we got that fender out of the way, you can tell we got days of room in here to work with. So there's our cat there for us. You can see the two 10mm bolts up on the top there. We'll go ahead and remove those. You should be able to slide the cat right up out of that notch and pull it away enough to go ahead and replace that seal. I'm going to take a close look at it, see if that's the one that's leaking or if it's the driver's side. I did go ahead and get both. Just want to do this once. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll get that unhooked. If we do need some extra room, we can go ahead and unplug the O2 sensor wiring harness to move it out of the way. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen up the bolts down at the bottom of the cat. That way we have plenty of wiggle room to kind of move that around. So let's go ahead and we'll do that. Alright, now we're under the Jeep. You can go ahead and see where those bolts are that we need to go ahead and remove. There's one on each side there. Those are 13mm. I did previously soak them with some lubricant, so hopefully they come off pretty good. So you can also see my skid plate is making contact with my Y pipe. I did have about a finger gap on that before, so I'm not sure if we bent the pipe or if we bent the skid plate, but that's probably where some of my noise is coming from as well. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unbolt the 13mm here, and then we'll unbolt the top there and we'll swap out that gasket. Alright, here we go. It's a little tight up underneath here. This is that passenger side cat. As you can tell, we didn't break it there, but if you come down and look here, this is a little off. We're a lot closer on that side than we are on that side, and it looks like there is some fluid as well. So this could be where a lot of our exhaust leak is coming from. So let's go ahead and we'll get these unhooked and we'll try to remedy that. So now that we got the lower bolts unhooked, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're working with. So these are the two 10mm upper bolts that need to be removed, and then the cat will slide right up and out of that little plate down there. If you do want to go ahead and unhook your wiring harness, the first one's there, and then the second one is right there. You see that little red tab? You just pop those out. You can unhook them. That way you could pull this totally free if you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll loosen those. I might unclip the wiring harness here, and up there on that little black ring, just so we get a little extra motion out of it. But I'm going to try to swap that out without pulling the whole cat out. So let's go ahead and we'll do that. So I did go ahead and just pull the harnesses real quick. It's really easy. That front one again is right there. Just pull that little red tab back and you can push it off. And then in the back, you just pop it out of that spot right there, and it's pretty easy as well. So now that I got those 10mm a little loose, we'll go ahead and pull those, and then we'll pull the whole cat out and see what we're working with. So I did manage to get it off. I did have to give it a little love taps with the dead blow there, but now it is loose. We can pull it out of the way, and you can see that seal right behind there. That's what we're going to be replacing. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way, and we'll replace that seal real quick. So we did go ahead and pull the cat out of the way there. So that's that seal we need to replace. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull those bottom 10mm, and that'll let us take that seal off. We'll clean this up a little bit, and we'll swap it out for the new one. So we went ahead and pulled that seal off. It does look pretty clean around there. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit, but I don't think we were having any huge exhaust leaks there. There's a little darker kind of up on that side there. Maybe there's some escaping there. We do have a new seal, so we're going to go ahead and replace it, but this old one doesn't look too bad. If we had a real bad exhaust leak, it'd be real dark in sections here. So I think maybe our problem area was down low there. But we're here, we're going to go ahead and swap that out real quick, and then we'll throw this side back together. So here's the difference between the old one on the right and the new one on the left. You can see there is some discoloration on there, but it's not real bad, so I don't think we're leaking too bad there. We'll have to take a look at the driver's side and see how that looks. But we're going to go ahead and swap this guy out. You do want to make sure this goes in the same orientation with the holes in the back here. This was facing rearward on the passenger side, so we'll make sure we'll put it back in that way. All right, let's get this in the Jeep. So now that we got that all cleaned in there, we're going to go ahead and install our new gasket. You'll want to go ahead and put it back on the same way you took it off. Nice thing about these is they are kind of barbed in the back here, so once you put the bolts through, it kind of holds it in place. So we're going to go ahead and put these bottom ones in. These 10mm are torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Then we'll go ahead and we'll put the cat back up in place, and the top two will be 18 foot-pounds as well. And then we can go ahead and we'll do the driver's side. All right, here we go. So this is what it'll look like before we put the cat back in. We're going to go ahead and torque those to 18 foot-pounds, and then we'll get that cat back installed, and then we'll be done on this side. Don't forget to go ahead and plug your harness back in. I'm going to leave the bottom unbolted because I do want to adjust it a little on the other side, see if we can gain some clearance on that skid plate. So we got all those bolts torqued up. We got the two top ones and the two bottom ones torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Now all we need to do is go ahead and plug our O2 sensors back in here, reroute the wires, and then we're all done. And as far as the fender goes, we're going to go ahead and clean it up a little bit. I got to get all these tabs out, and then we'll put them back on the fender, and then we'll reinstall it. So we're all done with this side. I am going to leave that Y pipe loose so we can have some adjustment on the other side, and then we'll get after it on the driver's side. All right, guys, and a quick trick to get these broken tabs out or to remove the ones you want to keep, go ahead and get yourself a pair of needle nose. You can actually fit up behind here and squeeze, and those will actually pop right out. So it makes it pretty easy. You don't have to break them off. So let's go ahead and we'll get this cleaned up. And then I've got a little something else I'm going to add to the fenders. I'll show you here in a second. One of the things I'm going to add to the fenders when I put them back on is going to be this tubing. It looks like it's right around 1/4 inch. It's rubber hose. It is pretty pliable. I did watch a YouTube video from Way of Life back when he first got his JL. He actually recommended this stuff. So what you do is you go ahead down in the groove, especially on the Rubicon fenders. Rocks and stuff will get down in here and they'll be stuck in there and you can't get them out and they're grinding on your paint. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. That'll keep some of the larger debris out. I have had mud and stuff caked down in that crack, so this hopefully should help. had this sitting around, so we'll go ahead and install it when we're done. So now that I got this cleaned up, we're going to go ahead, we'll pop those tabs back in, and then we'll get our fender back on. Okay, we went ahead and got all our clips back in. There are 11 of them, so if you do manage to break all 11, you want to make sure you go ahead and buy enough to replace them. I did go ahead and get it cleaned up in there while we're in there. It is really hard to clean this surface once they're installed on the Jeep. And then another thing to note, this is that part number for those clips again, and in these bags there only comes with 8 of them. So if you do manage to break all 11, you might as well go ahead and get 2 bags there. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this installed back on the Jeep. You want to make sure you don't forget to plug your wiring harness back in, and then we'll put those 10mm bolts in. Alright, she popped back on good. Let's go ahead and we'll throw those bolts back in underneath there, and then we'll be all done with this side. It looks like those blinkers still work, so that's good. Okay, we went ahead and got those all snugged up underneath there, all 10 of those. Don't forget this one right up here in the front. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take that rubber hose and we're going to cut it to length. We're going to run it down in this groove. You can see it's pretty easy for large rocks and stuff to get stuck in there, and then they're really hard to get out. So let's go ahead, we'll cut that to length. We'll just tuck that in. We'll just kind of push it down in with a little plastic screwdriver, and then we'll be all set on this side. So I wanted to go ahead and show you guys what that trim looks like once it's down in there. So we got it started there, and then it goes all the way along here, comes back down here, and then stops right about there. So I did go ahead and just push that in with a little pry tool. It should stay in, it's pretty snug in there, but that should keep us from getting all those rocks up in there. It's a nice little mod. So let's go ahead and we'll take the driver's side fender off, and we'll start taking the cat off on that side. Alright, here we go. So we're going to be replacing this exhaust loop here. So I've already got these separated. What we're going to do is we're going to cut out that whole section, and then we're going to replace it with this tubing here. So we should gain quite a bit of clearance here. It should be tucked up pretty high, right about there probably. So that'll gain several inches, and hopefully that'll keep me from hitting that Y pipe and that loop again and messing up my exhaust. When I was trying to test fit the other side, it did not quite line up. So once we get this all done, we'll have to see how that Y pipe lines up. We might need to address that down the road. All right, here we go. All right, so we went ahead and got that fender off on the driver's side. As you can see, there's our cap for us. Those are the bolts we're going to have to undo. We are going to have to go ahead and unhook the harness here, and we'll pull it out. We did disconnect it below already. According to Magnaflow's instructions, what they want you to do is measure just past the cat here, about 1 3/4 inches, and then that's where you cut. They do suggest that you do it on the vehicle. I'm actually already going to be pulling this off, so we're going to do it off the vehicle, and I think it'll be a little bit easier. So what you do is you go ahead, you cut it there, and then this end of their pipe is going to slide up on there, and then we got a band clamp that we got to tighten on, and then this section down here at the flange will go into the back pipe. So let's go ahead and we'll get that cat out, and we'll swap out our exhaust seal on that side, and then we'll go ahead and we'll cut that and get that ready for this new Magnaflow exhaust loop delete. All right, here we go. All right, so we went ahead and pulled the driver's side cat. This one does have a little more discoloration. It is pretty moist around there, so I'm wondering if this side was leaking a little bit. This one's a lot easier to get to. You just use some long extensions, and the clips are pretty easy to undo on the wiring harnesses as well. All right, and this section basically just falls right out. So this is where we are going to make the cut, right about there, about 1 3/4 inches down from that weld there, and that's going to get rid of all this exhaust loop. So that should buy us quite a bit of clearance as well. So let's go ahead and we'll swap out the seal here, and we'll go ahead and get our exhaust loop delete on. As we went ahead and marked off on our driver's side cat where we're going to make our cut. So that's 1 3/4 inches. We went ahead and taped it off so it'd be easier. We did get some metal blades for the Sawzall. We're going to go ahead and use those. I'm going to go ahead and cut right through, try to keep that nice and straight, and then we can go ahead and get this guy installed. Okay guys, we went ahead and made our cut. That was 1 3/4 inches. Went ahead and cut that guy right off. We have now deleted the exhaust loop. So those metal blades I got worked pretty good. I'll put a link for those down below. Those are from Empire Abrasives. So now that we have this off, we can go ahead and get this back in the Jeep. We do want to loosely fit up our Magnaflow pipe to it though. All right, so we went ahead and torqued down our bolts there, our 10 millimeters, and we put our new seal in, so that's all done. We've got our now shortened cat in here. We're gonna go ahead and we'll slide on our Magnaflow pipe there, get that snug down, and then we'll test fit the bottom, try to get that Y pipe all lined up. But that's it guys. This driver's side was a lot easier for swapping out that exhaust seal. So if you only have to do one side, that side's definitely the easier one. All right, so now that that's all done, let's go ahead and get that Magnaflow pipe on and we'll wrap this up. We got her all up in here. So I did go ahead and put their new hose clamp towards the inside of the vehicle. That makes it a lot easier to get to. That's gonna be a 15 millimeter and it gets torqued to around 40 foot-pounds. And then they do provide new nuts and washers for down here. We will use the factory hardware through here and then use their nut and their washer there and tighten it down. So it looks like it all lines up pretty good. I just need to get that other side lined up, and we gained a ton of clearance up underneath here. So I'm pretty excited about this. Let's go ahead and get her all buttoned up and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we got it all installed. We went ahead and put the new exhaust manifold gasket on there. We cut our pipe, and there's our new loop delete kit from Magnaflow. Let's go ahead and take a look at it underneath here. So there's that loop delete. Before, the loop came down to about here, so we gained a ton of clearance underneath here. Yeah, I think that'll work out pretty good. We're a long ways away from the drive shaft. We're farther away from this joint here, so that won't be getting as hot. And we shouldn't be hitting rocks as much now with that up in there. All right, looks good, guys. Let me go ahead and finish buttoning it up and we'll wrap this up. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for my new Magnaflow exhaust loop delete. Went on pretty smooth. I like how it turned out. We do have a nice low grumble sound when we're under acceleration, but at idle, it's nice and quiet. A lot quieter than it was when we had the exhaust leak. So it went together smooth. Putting those gaskets on the cats wasn't hard at all either. You just gotta pull those fenders. All right guys, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe down below. We got a Moab trip coming up, and also go ahead and check out our merch store if you want to get some hats. All right, thanks guys.